Well, good evening and welcome everybody to the monthly OPA call. And most people know what the OPA stands for, but I'm just going to take a few minutes to give a little bit of history for those who don't. OPA stands for Organic Products Associates. Mary and Gary Loomis, who started their business many years ago in the early 70s, I believe, 60s, built a very successful business, a very large business throughout the country. Mary had very terrific foresight. She wanted to have a business that anybody could become a part of it. So she called it OPA, Organic Products Associates, and anybody could become a part and use that name if they chose to.
Under that umbrella.
And then as they passed on, they brought in their son, Rob Loomis, who in his own right is a very successful person, a PhD in the classics and a lawyer, taught at Michigan University. And he's been running the business for many years now. And it's just a wonderful organization. All the master coordinators in the group, there are 9 or 10, I forget exactly. Each month we take our turn, like we're doing this month, in hosting the OPA call. So we welcome you. Everybody is welcome. You don't need to be a member of OPA. I mean, we invite lots of people from outside the OPA to join us in a learning, terrific experience. So thanks for being here. And we're excited to hear from our special guest tonight, who I don't really know very well, but Hannah knows very well. So we're very excited to hear. So take it away, Hannah.
Well, Renee Van Heel has been an independent business owner for over 45 years. Currently, she oversees their traditional businesses that she and her husband run, and their foundation. And listen to this, I love this. Their foundation, where they've been able to donate over $460,000 to charities. And love that. Love that. Within those 45 years, she's managed to survive 4 recessions without losing profits. And that's saying something. Then 18 years ago, Renee and her husband, David, started their Shackley business. Because of Shackley's philosophy, the turnkey business model, great products, they knew immediately they would never have to start another business. So those two were fine to add Shackley as the third, right? She's passionate and dedicated to assisting all business owners keep their business simple while increasing their profits. And I get to be fortunate enough to be on a committee that meets with, I'm trying to think how many we have, maybe 12 total, I think, that we meet on Wednesdays afternoons. And I just love what her next piece of wisdom is going to be. She's passionate, she's dedicated, and I love the fact that she's serving people and finding humor yet in everything she does. So I can't wait for you all to get to know her. I'm looking forward to getting to know her even better. But for all of you, this will be a great introduction to you. And so, Renee, would you like to start and tell us your Shackley story? I think everybody'd love to hear that.
Yes, I would, because it really lays the groundwork for how we run our business. Our oldest son was born with severe arthritis. Okay, my husband and I, born and raised in Minnesota, got married in Minnesota. And when they were doing steroid shots in his knees at age 5, and it was bad. And we were at St. Paul's Children's Hospital, and he goes, "Mom," one day, because he begged me not to have steroid shots in his knees ever again. And he goes, "Mom, I listen." And I go, "What do you mean you listen?" He goes, "I hear weather makes a difference." And so we literally got in our motorhome and traveled for 6 months to find a place for him to live. And we ended up in San Diego. So we tease him. He's in his 30s now, but we tease him that we're not happy he had arthritis, but we're really happy that we had 22 years in San Diego. So, and we definitely don't miss shoveling snow. So, and, it was amazing. But that's what got me on my mission to learn about supplements, because they had him on doses of medication for adults with lupus. The kid couldn't even go out and play. He would get bruised up just having a pedal hit him. We actually got separated in one of his doctor's meetings because they thought we were abusing him. That's how black and blue he was.
Whoa.
So we were on a mission. We said, we got to figure this out. I went to GNC, asked him what he should take. They gave me some glucosamine, and he ended up getting sicker from it. And so I have a friend who's a scientist. I said, can you test this and tell me what it is? Because it says all natural, and I don't want to give him stuff that's going to, cause him so many problems. 20% was glucosamine, and 80% was a form of baking soda and sand. And the casing was from rubber plants. So that's when I learned, and I went on a mission to start looking for companies that had better grade. And where my husband worked, he had an associate whose wife sold Shaklee. So she approached us. We started him on Shaklee and moved. And within 8 months, he was off all medications. He played roller hockey. They said he'd be in a wheelchair by age 11. He played roller hockey. He rode motorcycle in the desert. The weather made a difference, but the supplements is what changed it. But she never approached us about me taking the products. She never told us there was a business. Never. And we only learned
Big mistake.
Oh, that's why I tell people, you better tell the whole story all the time. And she didn't know that we literally moved from Minnesota to California with no jobs. We had nothing. We literally left everything. We didn't know how we were going to make it. It was crazy insane. So, Shaklee would have been nice to have back then. And I was introduced not long after that to network marketing. And some of you know of the Excel Corporation, and Excel went bankrupt overnight. And that's when I said, I will never do network marketing again. Well, my husband had a better idea. We got invited to go meet with Roger Barnett, and I wouldn't even go. I was that stubborn and that mad. My husband went up and spent 3 days with Roger Barnett, and he came back and he said, this is it. We will never have to do this again. And I go, well, if it's so good, why didn't this other person tell us about the business? So, and I was the big skeptic, but I'll tell you, I told him, fine, I'll do this, but I won't do presentations, and I will not talk about bowel movements. Okay, by a raise of hand, how many of you talked about bowel movements in the last 2 weeks with one of your clients? Yeah, so it's like, okay. So, but it only took a month of me getting on the products. You guys, I was constantly sick. I had rheumatic fever when I was younger, so I was on tons of medication. I had pneumonia 4 to 6 times a year. I had chronic sinus infections. I was on medication every single month. And so when Shaklee came into my life, within a month, just alfalfa, in the 18 years, I have not had one sinus infection, and I've only been sick twice. So I'm also a 2-time cancer survivor, and thank goodness for Shaklee, and the stress relief is my best friend. In 2007, we lost our house in a wildfire in San Diego. And the skeptic I am, I said, oh my gosh, they're going to quit sending us checks. Well, the only thing that happened is Roger Barnett called me every month. Marjorie Fine called me. We got 600 Shaklee Care products for the 1,100 homes that got burnt down. But more importantly, we had our first 2 years treated this business Shaklee like a business, and we got $4,000 to $5,000 checks every single month. And I had to take 5 years off. Did not touch it for 5 years. So this is the program that I teach people. Work hard for 2 years, and hard means 10 to 15 hours a week, but it's consistent time. You have to do your time schedule and figure out, where am I going to put that time? You have to decide yourself how much time you can put in. And I'm telling you, if it's even 5 hours, you can build something slowly. 10 hours, you can build it a little bit faster, but 15 to 20, within 2 years, you're going to have that recurring income of $4,000 to $5,000. But it's the consistency. And so that's why I compare it to our other businesses. There is no possible way our other businesses would be where they're at today if we put in 5 to 10 hours a week. We were putting in 50, 60 hours a week to make it where it's at. So that's where I get excited when you compare the two and everything Shaklee does for you. So So I love it. So that's how I got in, and that's why I'll never leave. My husband's health is wonderful. My son, all my kids are Shaklee kids. Some of them have businesses. Their wives are just loving Shaklee. So I'm very, very fortunate, very blessed.
Well, what a story. I'm not surprised though. I knew it was going to be dramatic just from knowing you. And I think that you've shared it so beautifully. And I think that that really leads us into the rest of the things we want to share with everybody tonight. Renee, don't you think?
I think so.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, when we've been on our accountability calls, you have shared some great information on the business. And you've talked about Shaklee compared to other businesses. So can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah,
How
I would
do you-
love to. I
Okay.
would love to, because so many people that start their Shaklee business, and you guys, it's all mindset. So, and I want you to pay attention to yourself when you talk about your Shaklee business. So you will hear people say, well, I've been in Shaklee this many years. Well, you're not in Shaklee. You own a Shaklee business. You are your own CEO of a multi-million-dollar industry. So and I hear that, and I hear it a lot at conference, and I'm telling you, it really does make me cringe, because your business will not excel to the point of making what we call a double-digit comma check, which we have a club called Comma Check Club, but double-digit comma check is 10,000 or more a month, until you have that mind shift of going from, oh, it's just this thing that I'm in. That's not it. You own and operate your own health and wellness company. And we have the backing of a multi-million-dollar company that we don't have to pay for all that extra stuff. I mean, I just brought on a new admin for one of my companies, and I'm telling you, I'm paying them a lot more than, what is it, $19.95 for our website and our member center.
Right.
And everything's there.
How true, how true. Well, so when we're talking about, you were listing all the things about a business, a traditional business. Can we run through some of that too?
Yeah. Well, and that's where, again, when my husband saw everything Shaklee does for us. So you guys, one of our traditional businesses, we provide credit card processing to every type of account, to e-commerce, to restaurants, to grocery stores. We're the money movers. So someone has to provide that machine, so we move it. So think about what Shaklee does for us. So I'm going to compare the two companies. Number one, we have to be licensed with Visa, MasterCard. We're talking 6 figures a year we have to pay just to be licensed. Okay. Do you know, and I don't know if there's nobody from California here, but this is why we had to move out of California. 1099s are no longer allowed in California. And our whole sales staff for our companies were 1099 salespeople. Okay, what are we? 1099 in Shaklee. Do you know that Marjorie Fine and Roger Barnett, they knew that was going to come down as a law? They fought for us 1 year ahead of time for us to be exempt. Nobody knows that.
Awesome. That's true. That's a very powerful thing to know.
They are on top of every law that's going on. They're trying to make that 1099 law national. And I promise you, Shaklee and the Direct Selling Association has been on top of that like crazy. So, so that is one of them. So just the insurance we have to have for all our employees that we do have, all of that. And if you think about that, I mean, it's unbelievable. Just to track our commissions for our salespeople, you guys, $19.95. We go in and we log in and it's there. Do you know we employ 3 people to do our social media for our other companies? What do we get to do for Shaklee? Go in, all the artwork's done, all the science is done. I mean, I am just in awe of what they continue to do for us. That's what blows me away. But we have to understand that the majority of people that come into Shaklee and wanting to make money as a business owner, have not owned a business. So that's where we get to nurture them. But Shackley also has training for that. But it is, I guess, one thing that I do different, once you start treating Shackley as a business, you set guidelines for your ambassadors. You don't let them steal your time, and that's one of the big ones that I have learned. And I love on them to pieces, and I will match them. If someone really wants to learn, they can. You guys, I was so bad in network marketing. I didn't make any money my first 2 years in network marketing, because I would call somebody up, and this wasn't Shackley, this was prior. I would call somebody up, talk to them for a half hour, and then mention business. If anybody else ever
by
does
the way,
I was so I've learned, again, if you're treating it as a business, you're very direct but kind. And you ask why, and you ask questions. You say, I'm here to help you. So there's things that we can learn, but I had to learn new skills. So anytime you go into a new business, do you think I understood credit card processing? Heck no. It's the most boring, sleazy industry, but we wanted to prove it could be done properly. And Shackley's philosophies, you guys, are amazing. If you haven't read that book on Shackley's philosophies, I highly, highly recommend it. Because Roger Burnett, he's kept those same core values. And I didn't know, but Roger Barnett helped us really keep our core values and even make them stronger, because it's okay to be kind and serving. It really is. So Hannah, I know there's more, but I don't want to bore people, but these are some of the.
No, this is great. No, we're doing great. This is terrific. All right, so when we were talking too, some of the things that you had mentioned previously about comparisons of businesses, I wrote down some of the things you had said originally too, about the unlimited training without cost, and no shipping costs. I mean, they take care of the shipping, the distribution. And one thing that I'd like you to say a little bit more about, because I thought this was a very big point that you made, and that is that it takes 6 months time, most of the time, for somebody even really fully understand what it is that they are going to be doing for the rest of their Shackley career. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Because I thought that was a really good point.
So whenever we hire somebody new, we see that, we have to train them, and it takes a good 6 months. Well, people think because this is network marketing, you're going to make $1 million the first month. It's not. I know, Ellen, I laugh too. It's like, well, I kind of wanted to, but this is our job as a business owner, as we're training them to bring that reality. This is what you do. This is what you're going to make. You have where we get the $25 bonuses the next day. What do you need? But you got to teach people to be patient, and we have to be patient with ourselves. I mean, in all reality, I've been in 18 years. I did take 7 years off. But I would have loved to be a master coordinator by now. I'm real close to senior exec, and I liked, I think Scott and Sue, you were saying how you are on a building mode again, where we can now go back and build. So that's another big thing, Hannah. If in our conventional businesses, if you're not growing constantly and building constantly, you are going to lose a big chunk of your business.
Mm-hmm.
Shackley, if you build it solid again, you guys treat it like a business. It will pay you like a business. Treat it like a hobby. You'll make a little bit of money, but the great thing is we get choices. If we only want a hobby, this is a wonderful hobby, because you have great people you get to meet. I look at the communities within Shackley, and I'm like, if I could do it and just be lazy and hang out with everybody, I'd be fine. But I'm too much of a driver. So that's my problem. I was born that way.
Well, you have a very powerful purpose and strong goals. And fortunately, we get to be the beneficiary of all those good things that you put out there.
Well, Hannah, I do want to mention the inventory thing, because I grew up in a family business where we did wholesale costume jewelry. Okay, we had 10,000 styles of costume earrings alone.
Oh
So
my
we did
gosh.
private label for Nordstrom's, all the little mom and pop shops. J.C. Penney's was another one of our accounts, but the inventory we had to have.
Mm,
And in Shackley, I know veteran Shackley people, and some still do inventory, but we don't have to. So that's the joy also, and
yeah.
we don't have to put a lot of upfront money into having that inventory. So how Shackley has, and I want to call it kind of a restructure. Would that be fair, Hannah? How they now, we don't have to have the inventory. And I'm
Right.
like,
Yeah.
and I think that's why I was so opposed to a company like Shackley when 18 years ago, because I said, I just got out of the family business. The last thing I want to do
Mm.
is
And
to do inventory.
right. And when you think about it, actually, what turns out to happen to us when we have a situation like you've mentioned about the inventory, things like that, when we can say to people, genuinely, there is a no risk business because there's virtually no investment. What they buy is for their own product use.
Yeah.
And so literally, worst case scenario, they decide not to do the business. They just use their own products.
Well, and that's the thing that I have found, because yes, we all have them where they used to be frontline directors. But I have a lot of 1,000 PV users. And I encourage people, if you have a distributor that stops, you have a conversation with them. I turn them into what I call a referral partner. And I have one right now that brought 5 new customers in last week.
Wonderful.
But I do the box openings, I do the thank yous for him, everything. But I'm the original sponsor. He's the placement sponsor. But
Right.
he does 1,500 PV every single month. He is such a proponent for Shackley. So, and once they're a distributor, if you get them into 3 different product categories that they're buying, they will never leave you. Never,
Right.
ever. And I learned that from our mastermind group, Hannah.
Yeah, right. It is true. So now, what do you think is holding him back from the business? Because I know you've mentioned we have to be aware, love them where they are. So, he may never be a builder.
No, so he was a personal coach, fitness coach. So, and now he has gone into personal coaching. He won't ever come back as a as a distributor now, or an ambassador. No, he literally found his joy. And this is the thing, you guys, and this is what I tell people: we all are born with our DNA. Shackley might be just a stepping stone for some people, but set it up so you get permission from them to go and work with their customers. And I've done this with every single person. I had one person that only needed $5,000 for, well, they were going on a vacation, I think to Europe. It was 10 years ago. She made her 5,000, then she was fine. But do you know her group now has gone down 6 levels for me? So,
The value of working in depth.
Well, and the exactly, and the value of loving them where they are.
Yeah.
I so respected her. And if you keep it comfortable for them that it's okay if they stop, where you don't make them feel bad or anything, and you just say, you know what, no worries, but let's see if we can work it this way. And so, I got on the trip because of my referral partners, this last one, because I was the original, they were the placement. And I have 6 referral partners frontline to me. So
that's awesome. Can't beat that.
Well, and so many people say, well, where can I find people? They're going, how do you find people? And again, it's a skill I had to learn, how to ask for referrals. And that's a whole nother
share that?
workshop. I can a little, but it goes more in depth. I don't think we have enough time to thoroughly go through it. But again, it's making you got to love on them and make friends with them. And I do have to tell you, if you don't like them, please don't do it, because they can tell. Don't do it. And I joke with my team and I say, don't bring them on the team if you don't like them, because I'm not going to like them either. So, and it is a community of like-mindedness. But and I just work with even my customers, but they have to get to know me pretty good. And you can't just ask, well, who do you know? You start talking about and getting them to talk about what Shackley's done for them.
Mhm.
And then I just say, you know
That's
what?
number one.
Yep. And then I say, I am so passionate about helping others get the same results you do. I'd say, who comes to mind that you would like to help to feel as good as you? You'll always get a name, because it's not about you, it's about them and how they can help others. And some people still say nobody, but you got to do it enough times. And this is a thing, you just don't quit. You keep doing it. So it's your own words that are coming out. You gotta talk to them about how good they're feeling. And I would say you're on here because you're passionate about helping people. And by the time you get to asking for referrals, they know how passionate you are about it.
And working the business that way, I would assume you never run out of prospects.
Oh my gosh. I don't ever want to say I have too many, because I live in abundance and I work on that constantly to not sabotage. Kind of like I said, I'd never talk about bowel movements. Oh my word. How many times? So, but you do, I honestly never run out. I run out of hours in a day. I have a list of 45 referrals that I've gotten in the last month and a half that I am working on getting through my phone calls. But the other thing, you have to teach them how to give referrals. Any referral I get is a 3-way text, 3-way phone call, or a 3-way email. I will not call anybody and they go, oh, just call them. And I'll just say, Hannah, honey, I love you to pieces and I'm so glad you feel good, but I really am going to ask you to do me a solid and do a 3-way text introduction. I mean, I just got one from Canada. I got one from Minnesota. I got one from Ontario. So Vancouver, Ontario, and Minnesota, Friday. 3 of them on Friday.
That's terrific. And I have to say, I hadn't thought of doing it that way. I mean, I am always saying, can you introduce us? Can you put us together? But that's a really good way of doing it. I'm going to adopt that.
So Hannah, one thing that I do find, if we treat it like a business, so many people say, well, I don't want to be pushy. No, there is a difference between being pushy and just being direct. It's okay to be direct. That is professional. You have a multi-million-dollar health and wellness company. How are you going to speak to them? And again, it's just posturing yourself, and you can be direct out of loving somebody, and I always, I sound a little foo-fooey because I'm actually very pragmatic, but when you're doing it with the servant leadership attitude that you really are there for them, you will not come across pushy. I promise.
Right.
I promise.
And you're absolutely right. And what I'd like to do, if we can, because I want to make sure I get a lot of more of the wonderful wisdom here tonight. Can we talk a little bit about what you do when you do bring somebody in as an ambassador? What's your conversation? How do you get them set up? How do you get them started?
So we have, our team is called Just Take a Look. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. And it consists of a bunch of us that are cousins, downlines, uplines. We all stem from Kathy Minsky as our master coordinator. But we put together just a training site for new ambassadors. So we have a checklist, first 24 to 48 hours. This is what you have to do. But what we do when we do bring on ambassadors, Hannah, that's after the fact. I treat them as interviews. Again, going back to treating this as a business, you are building your core management team, basically. Who would you hire if you need a CEO in your multi-million-dollar company? What do you think? How does Roger Barnett hire people? Basically, that's it. And this is no different. Say, and the biggest thing that you need to know as you're building ambassadors is you need to know what you're looking for in an ambassador first. Okay. You have to make a list. What do you want in an ambassador? I want one that is going to communicate. And you know what? if some weeks you can't put in your 5 to 10 hours, that's fine, but just let me know. Let's communicate and just say it's not going to work right now. I'm not going to be for my check-in call. So, and 100% how I treat ambassadors is how I treat our salespeople in all 3 of our companies. Because with our foundation, we actually have 2 types of fundraising that we offer for these people. So these nonprofits. So we treat those nonprofits just like we interview them. So I highly recommend you put down what you're looking for. I am looking for somebody that really is willing to learn something new, because people say they want it, but then when you get down to the nitty gritty, how many have worked with people that just say, oh, it's too hard? So I do let them know that you can treat it as a hobby and make some money, or you can treat it as a business. And I asked them for 6 months. I said, any new job you have, it takes 6 months to learn. So can I ask you well, I don't like to say not quit, but can I ask you to stick with it for 6 months? And then we'll reassess and see how you like it. And when I am training them, I always ask, okay, what do you like about it today? What don't you like about it today? Get them talking about what they don't like, and we need to let them talk. And then I always ask permission. Okay, can I share with you a solution for that whatever they're complaining about? And that's something I learned from Scott Watkins, who's front level to me. He is so good at asking permission to answer the question. Because I find, I actually did this with a new gentleman, a young kid, and I'm bummed. I spoke at him and I didn't ask him enough questions on what he wanted to learn. And he's second guessing it. And I said, Alec, can we, and I just asked him on Thursday last week, I said, can we start from scratch? I said, I don't want you, because he told me he wanted to build fast. So what did I do? Boom, I gave him everything to build fast. Well, he wasn't ready. And that was to me on my shoulders to say, okay, let's do your time schedule first. Because that's the other thing that I have them do in the first 48 hours. I have a calendar that they fill out. So I said, where's your Shackley time? Let's figure it out. Because I think time management is the biggest thing that keeps any of us from being master coordinators.
I think I shared with you on the call. That's the kind of thing that we've always done too. And it really pays off because, first of all, a lot of times they don't even realize that they have more time than they thought they did. Yeah. And secondly, setting them off and thinking in terms of business versus hobby, I think is paramount too.
Well, but also asking them if they've ever owned a business or if they've ever done another network marketing company.
Right.
Really find out about your people, because assuming, that's what happened to me with this last gentleman. I assumed way too much. So, and he said he's taking the summer off, but he'll be back in the fall, and I believe he will. You have to value your Minnesota summers because they don't last long.
I guess that's true. Even though they have 1,000 lakes or more.
10,000.
10,000 lakes, yeah. Okay, right. So, one of the things we were also talking about that I thought was very important for all of the Shackley field to hear, and that was when we were talking about men in this business and women in this business. And you know where I'm going, so you go ahead and take it from there.
And you guys, this is so true. And Gary Burke talked about it, and this is where I feel very, very blessed. I was coached by Gary Burke, so he was in our upline, and oh my gosh, just I learned so much from him. And I also learned this from our family business. I was 18 when I inherited the family business. My dad died of a heart attack. And we went to our offices 3 days later, and the IRS was there with chains on the door because he paid a lot of back taxes, a lot. So, and you guys, that was 1979, which I am showing my age, but that's when bankers didn't work with women. So I had to bring my brother in as a business partner so the bankers would talk to us. So because we needed financing. And it was during a recession. So that's the only recession I lost money in. So what do? You learn from it. So, but being in business as a woman, we are not taught to talk about money, because that was one skill I had to learn, and I had to learn it fast if we were going to keep the business. And bankers, I was told by bankers, women don't know anything about money. So why are you coming to the bank? This and that. And so as I was growing up and running this business, I had to teach myself how to talk about it. And I remember the first year within Shackley, I was having this conversation with Gary, and he goes, most women in Shackley will not talk about money. So I went and I did my study. I picked 12 women and I went to them and I said, do you want to understand the comp plan more? I'd love to teach you how you can make this amount of money. No interest. 8 out of 12 had no interest to learn.
Wow.
I thought that was the most interesting thing. So again, now going in, eyes wide open, when I work with women, I will ask that question. Do you, again, is this a hobby or is it a business? And do you want to understand how to make money? And it's surprising to this day how many say, well, I just want to make about $1,000. So that's their cap. And guess what? You meet them where they're at, which is totally okay. But you guys, it's just kind of in our DNA, and I'm fine with it. I was forced to learn it. But right now, my husband, I can never divorce him because he takes care of all the money, all the pensions, all the taxes. We got married and I gave him 3 shoe boxes because I hadn't done taxes in 3 years. So, but just
Well,
be
you're
aware
such a
of it.
people person.
Yeah, but that's something to me that I think as business owners, we just need to be aware of, because we work with a lot of women. And again, it's totally okay if they don't want to know about it, but we have to ask the direct question.
Right. And then don't you find that we take them where they are, as you said, that as time goes on and as they start to see what more and more Shackley has to offer, and they're starting to experience success, how we can expand that thinking to where they can look at the 10,000 plus income a month.
Well, and I think the mind shift happens between $500 and $750. That's when I see people coming back saying, wow, this really works. So yeah, that's when I see them start asking more questions about it.
And of course, I know we've talked a lot about mindset. You and I feel real strongly about that. And the thing is, the good benefit is that when we start to get women starting to realize their own power, then a lot else changes as well.
So I'm going to tell you the most powerful person in Shackley, and I think you'll be surprised. An introvert that is a woman is the most powerful person that can own a Shackley business. They just don't know it yet. And there's what is the book I read? The Introvert's Edge. And then there's one, The Introvert's Edge for Networking. Everybody needs to read it because it goes through the power of an introvert. And introverts, people will listen to an introvert, what did they say? 77% more than they'll listen to an extrovert.
How interesting is that?
So what's the name of that book again?
Introvert's Edge, Pollard is the.
Can I ask
And
you
I
a
am
question?
telling you, what's that?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What do you like to do for fun and games?
Oh my gosh. Well, we just bought a 10-acre ranch that we are renovating to make into a retreat center.
Okay.
So I love design. I love, you're going to laugh. There's an app called OfferUp where you can buy used stuff or brand new stuff for a deal. So I am on a mission. The majority of our ranch, every single thing has been bought from OfferUp, at least 90%. So I sit and I go through design. So Yeah, I love to do that. And I do love to just hang out with family and friends. That is,
Okay.
and I do
So,
read a lot. So I guess there is a lot I like to do.
so when you're on your ranch, do you have people working there for you?
No, we have no animals. It's a non-animal ranch, but it was a
Okay.
big horse farm. So
Okay.
yeah.
So in your travels of looking for stuff for your ranch and you run into people, if you ran into somebody you thought could be a potential prospect, what do you say and how do you say it?
Um, Interesting you say that. The last two items I bought are new ambassadors. The people are new ambassadors. So, and I always talk about how, do you know what? I am buying this from you, and we'll always joke about you're making money on me right now, which is awesome because I love small business owners and you're very, very entrepreneurial. And then I start talking about what else have you done? And I said, you know what? We have a couple different businesses. I'd love to share one with you because it is, well, all of our businesses, you guys, are residual income. I won't have a company that won't do residual income. I said, what we have a joy is offering an opportunity to entrepreneurs on how they can make that recurring income. And then I set the appointment. And then I changed the subject. Usually I'll change the subject, talk a little bit more about what they like to do, and I'll come back and say, you know what? I would love to set an appointment with you. I have time Tuesday at 2:00 or Thursday at 6. We can do it over Zoom. Which one of those days works good for you?
Terrific.
So the last two came from that kind of conversation.
Yep. Now, and I also, you guys, I do volunteer at a thrift store where all the money goes to hospice. I can't believe how many people I've met through there.
Well, again, I think the critical part of our business is making sure that we find ways to find other people.
So at the thrift store, for example, how would you bring in shack conversation there?
From where?
The thrift store.
At the thrift store, we just start talking and I find out where they're from and I find out what they do. And, health comes up all the time. All the time. And I actually have been given permission to put a little goodie bag together to give to every single customer. But I haven't gotten around to it. So, but yeah, so we just talk. And one gal was saying she has a son that's autistic, and I said, and then we start talking about how, and he's 20, and how is he going to survive financially is how I asked. And I'm telling you, if we keep focused on them and not us, it just is. It's interesting how it just comes around. I haven't met with her yet. So I don't know if that will go anywhere, but I just say, you know what, I might have something that can help you with your son for financially, because that is a tough thing that I'm finding with some of my friends with special needs kids. I have an old neighbor in her 80s and her son's still living there, and it's not a good thing. So
at the 25th Shackley anniversary in San Francisco, when they did This Is Your Life, Dr. Shackley, obviously was before your time.
No, that was my first one.
Oh, okay. Well, you know how wonderful it was then. Yeah. So one of the things that every time I watch it, it hits me the same way all over again. But the couple that had a special needs child, and that was exactly what brought them to Shackley, so that they would always have something. And
that has stuck with me forever.
Yeah. So I love the fact that what you're basically saying is you put your agenda at the door and it's all about them.
Mm-hmm. Always.
And and when it is all about them, it's impossible to get fearful about talking to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gary Burke told me to get a little notebook called my needs book. And he goes, Renee, I want you to go meet 30 people and not mention Shackley once, but I want you to collect their name and number for a reason. And you have to figure out why. You got to figure out a reason you're going to reconnect. He goes, but you cannot talk about Shackley, and you have to ask them a minimum of 5 questions each. It was the
Great
funnest thing I ever
advice.
did. Funnest thing I ever did. And it changed my life because it 100% took the focus off of me. You guys, I grew up in old school sales and I was good. It was painful to reteach yourself to not sell. This truly is not selling. It took me a good 2 to 3 years to reteach myself what I had been taught my entire life. So when
Good for you, that recognition on your part, though, that isn't where or who you wanted to be. That's huge. I mean, give yourself, and maybe you do already, great credit for that recognition and changing that around. That's awesome.
Yeah. You guys, the other thing I do want to recommend, if this is your first business you've ever owned, treat it like a business and go find a mentor that owns a traditional business. And ask him questions how he finds his customers. Ask him questions on how his systems run. You know, and we have amazing systems for new members and new ambassadors because we have the same systems of onboarding for all our other customers and all our other charities that come on board. It is practically duplicated. So go meet other business people. And I actually want to tell you, you need to go talk to other business people about Shackley. And this is something I'm on a mission to work with Shackley on, because these business people they're losing hope. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of clients nationwide for our other businesses, and they are giving up hope. They are giving up hope. And we need these small business people. Number one, they already understand business. If we treat this as a business, they'll see it as a business. Number three, they will grow pretty fast because they get it. So,
and who knows who we're saving?
I know, you guys, we were saved. We didn't know what we were going to do. So we had started our pay it forward processing company a year before we started Shackley. So that was still a new business. And I'll tell you, I grew in 2 years to be at $5,000 a month in a brand new business. Do you know how long it takes a restaurant to get to that point? If they ever get to that point.
They ever get there.
Right. Good point.
So,
Question. Well, you know what? We could go on forever, but I know that there are probably questions that people have. So I thought maybe we should take a break. And then if they don't have questions, we certainly have a lot more that we'd love to find out from you. But let's take a pause a minute and open up your mute.
So what I'm most excited about is we have Arizona in the house. I think the most. Well, Pennsylvania. I did hear Pennsylvania a lot. So
yes. Well, that's our home state too. So okay. Anybody have some questions for Renee?
Any Arizonians have a question?
Yes.
Okay, Sue, go for it.
Expand a little bit on moving an ambassador who's kind of not all that happy to a referral source. How do you how do you interest them in it?
So I get them talking about why what they saw in Shackley to start with and why they like it, why they continue to use the products, and say, you know what, I have this program we put together. It's called a referral program. And I'd love to talk to you about it. And it's where your business can still grow, but there's a structure that we do that if you're interested, I am happy to set a time and go through it with you. Again, treat it as a business. In one of our companies, we have over 120 referral partners. And that's why in our other business, we do Visa, MasterCard was not going to give us licensing because we weren't going to telemarket. We're 100% referral based, which is unheard of. So it followed right into Shackley.
Fabulous.
But make sure you let them know that you are the placement, so you get the bonuses, or you are the original and they will be the placement, so they get the PV.
Right.
And the thing is, I haven't gotten to the point where one gets to be, oh, well, no, I take that back. So I have one referral partner and I did not promote him at 2,000 to be a director. I said, if you want to be a director, we're going to be at 4,000. So that's the other, and you know, some of them that are referral partners, that might be too much of a conversation to start with. You have to judge. So does that help, Sue? Okay, good.
Terrific, thank you. Okay, any Pennsylvanians have a question?
Or Ohioans?
Give the Pennsylvanians a chance to digest the question.
Renee,
I have a
Renee,
question,
Renee,
Renee.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
wanted to ask you if you've worked with any chiropractors and if you had any advice.
Sure. You got to do the same thing. You treat it as a business and you ask them where they want to take it. Scott Watkins has quite a few. You know what else we've been hitting? And this again is in, I think, my 6th level in Scott's business is pharmacists. We have a gal that owns a pharmacy in Wisconsin, and she now does classes for customers on how to do things naturally. So it can't be a pharmacist to a big box store. It has to be an individual pharmacy. And she's doing really well, really well. So, but yeah, chiropractors, you treat it as a business and you ask them what they want out of it. You know, you can go in and do workshops for them if you want to. It 100%, you got to find out where they're coming from first. One thing I do with chiropractors, I do explain to them. I said, you know what, your clients being a chiropractor are going to come and go. You get them taking Shackley, and then I go through the stats of what percentage stays X amount of time. And that's how I got Sean as a fitness trainer. But some are going to get it and some aren't, Tammy. And then you just got to move on. It's a numbers game.
Terrific. Ray, was that a question you had? Was that you that spoke?
Yeah, I really didn't have a question. I just wanted to say, Renee, you know, you're saying so many great things. You're a coach. You are absolutely a coach. Coaches tell people straight out what they need, what they should be doing. So, and you said a couple things that I really like. One is that it's about them. It isn't about you. That is really, really important. So you're asking questions so that people can discover for themselves what they want to do, not what you're not telling them what they need to do. You're letting them discover by asking the kinds of questions that you ask, and that's really important. You're a coach. You're not so much a cheerleader. Maybe a couple times you cheer people on and stuff like that. But coaches are straight with people. They tell people exactly what they need to do. If you had somebody who talked too much, you would have to say, "Can I tell you why you're not moving ahead?" Sure. Why am I not moving ahead? You talk too much. Yeah. Coaches will do that, but you got to build trust with people first before you can tell them those kinds of things. And if you build that trust with people, then you can tell them almost anything, and they'll take it in a positive vein. And Renee, that's what you do. I think you're pretty amazing. You're going to be a master coordinator. I have no doubt.
Oh,
about it.
absolutely.
Well, and Ray, I'm going to piggyback on that because I am learning and reading certain books on how to be a cheerleader, because we need to be both. And I am not. And you have already said it. And so I'm working to round out my corners to be able to be that cheerleader too. And that's interesting you said that, because just this morning I had this conversation with one of my really sensitive people. So, I swear God surrounds me with those people. So I learned to round out my corners. And I said, you have to promise me that if I ever offend you, you have to tell me, please. And I say that to these very soft-hearted people that are my introverts, because they are powerful if we can round the corners out and bring it out in them. But yeah, I am not
Renee, the other thing too is you said that introverts are really strong people to build businesses. My wife, Barb, is in her 49th year. She built this Shackley business, and she is an introvert. Yeah, so you're exactly right. And the other thing I was going to tell you too is that Gary and Faye when Gary was alive, they had a place here in Scottsdale that they came to every winter. and we became very, very good friends and spent a lot of time together and stuff. He mentored me and coached me as well. So I just want to
Isn't he
let
the
you know.
best? Yeah. Well,
Great
and you
guy.
guys, we are opening our ranch up for like small business planning. This is
Mm.
one of the main things we want to for women recovering from cancer. So that's going to be free. But to make the money, we're going to open it up to small groups where you can do. This is the other thing that I don't think we do enough of is really treat it as a business and do a business plan. And that is, again, my passion is you got to have a roadmap. So hopefully someday you'll be out at the ranch where we can work together on it too. It'll be a lot of fun.
Wonderful. Wow. Okay, we've got a few minutes left.
Rosanna.
Rosanna, you have a question? Go for it. Ohio.
Well, Ohio. Anyways, I was wondering, I have a person that I'm working with right now who's the best member ever. Loves Shackley, loves everything, is excited about all of Shackley, but is never it's been difficult for me to get her to want to be an ambassador instead. We're talking, she loves loyalty, she loves everything about Shackley. She's been on a lot of our Zoom calls that we've done in our SharePan group. And so
So
how do
what
I
if-
what
so
do I
let's-
do to get, I mean, it hasn't been working up until now, but
Okay, so Rosanna, ask her why. Say, would you like to make money? And if she says no, ask her why. Why wouldn't you want to make, why wouldn't you want to make money? And we have to be careful how we ask that question because we don't want to sound snotty. Well, why wouldn't you want to make money?
right.
But if it's not in her, so I have members like that. You guys, I have a member that spends $800 a month. She doesn't want to make money, doesn't want to. So guess what I do? I throw free products in her cart every single month.
Yeah.
That's it. But she will be an amazing referral partner, Rosanna.
How do I mean, it's just been hard for me to ask her for referrals, or if I
Right.
have, it hasn't come
Right.
across right.
Okay, so you got to practice it. You guys, there's a book called Endless Referrals by Bob Berg. I read it when I was 22 years old, and I've read it probably 10 times since. Endless Referrals by Bob Berg. That's how I learned how to ask for referrals. I am
B-U-R-K?
B-U-R-G.
Okay.
I am 100% self-taught by books. I don't know if you guys know who Ken Blanchard was. I asked him to be my mentor, and he mentored me for years and years. Do not be afraid to ask. I learned more from his books, him and John Maxwell, than any other books.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, and I have to tell you one book for leadership, you guys. I am a believer. So John Maxwell's Leadership Bible will put you over the top in leadership. That's where I learned servant leadership.
The name of that book again is?
John Maxwell's Leadership Bible. Wait, hold on. Let me look it up. I'm drawing a blank.
I've read books of his, but I haven't that one.
Oh, John Maxwell's John Maxwell Leadership Bible.
Okay.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, Bob Berg. I read that one 100 years ago also. It's excellent.
Isn't that it's I hate to say it, but it's an old book.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Gary Burke and I think that's where we had the most fun. We compared bookshelves one day, and it's like, oh my gosh, we overlapped by 90%.
That's great. Well, I know that there was so much that you covered tonight that most people are probably going to want to hear this again. So remember that Scott said at the beginning that within a few days on opastuff.org, you can get on and get this recording, because there's so many gems. This was like a great lesson in Shackley. Just overall, building the business, being the kind of person you want to be. I mean, you incorporated so much. I can't tell you. And I'm so grateful to you that you said yes and were with us tonight to share like this. I think that everybody else will probably join me in all of that and saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you want to come off mute, let's all give her a Rousing, thanks.
Renee, thank you. You were
Thank you.
outstanding.
Thank you, Renee.
Thanks, Renee.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you,
My
Renee.
pleasure. My
you.
pleasure. You guys, I am honored, very honored. So thank you for having me. So
It's been
definitely.
our honor.